Hello, and welcome back to Exile 3. We've just entered our first dungeon here, and it's very dark, so let's use a candle, get a little bit of light, and move forward carefully. We've spotted an enemy. So, I'm mostly just going to be blessing my fighters over and over and hasting them. So, instead of saying, oh look, I'm casting Minor Bless, I'm casting the mage version of Bless. And again, how about I go through a little bit of the backstory of this setting. So, in Exile 1, your party is exiled from the surface to a sort of underground Australia. It's in this giant cave system that's really far underground. The Empire, which controls the surface, and it's just called the Empire because it's the only one around, just started exiling all these extra people it didn't need, and all the troublemakers and so on. And they also exiled some powerful mages, which made them upset. And the most powerful mage of the underground, called Erica, was exiled and was cursed to never be able to return to the surface because if sunlight touched her, she'd die. So she recruited your party to get revenge, and what you end up doing is assassinating the Emperor of the Empire after teleporting to the surface with her help. And it's sort of implied that the real power behind the throne is the Archmage, the Imperial Archmage. And it's sort of implied that he kind of lets you kill the Emperor. So after Exile 1 is over, the Empire gets mad about those underground upstarts killing their Emperor. So they invade, they send in an invasion force, and initially it goes pretty badly for the exiled people. I think the government is called Exile, and the underground cave system is Avernum. I may have that backwards or something. But anyway, the exiled people start fighting back, but they're having a lot of trouble because they're up against, elite soldiers with good equipment, and they're just a bunch of people who are struggling to survive. But it turns out that there's this sort of alien-looking race that lives even deeper underground. And they can't go up because they've evolved to live in the thick air. Oh, what's in the box? What's in the box? Garbage. That's what's in the box. Right. And we're running out of light, so let's just cast some light. Yes. And that's why you should be more careful. Yeah. I should probably try to avoid just running into enemies like that. Let's see if we can kill this guy. No? Okay. Just bless up for protection. Yeah, there's this alien-looking race that's even deeper underground, and they like the thick air there, I think. And they're really strong, and they're good with magic. And when they have someone who's sort of an honored elder and important to the community, and they get really old, goblins living to the south. When one of these underground people, the race is called Vanatai, I believe. When they get really old, sometimes the person is put in a crystal soul. Their soul is put in this crystal, and they generally use a lot of crystals. They like crystals. They're one of those crystal-using groups. For some reason, futuristic things are all crystal-based. Well, I mean, I'm using a computer that uses a solid monocrystalline slice of silicon. which then has impurities added to it in specific patterns. So, in a sense, we're sort of at that stage right now. And gas turbines, they use monocrystalline blades. The entire blade is a single crystal of metal. But, we don't have like transparent or colorful crystals powering everything. It's a little bit unnecessary, isn't it? Okay, more goblins. And just keep blessing. Yes. So the Empire decides to steal some of these crystal souls. And the Venati don't like that. It makes them really mad. So then they go kick the Empire out. And everyone lives happily ever after, except there's still these people who are trapped underground, and it's pretty harsh. There is food and there is light because of some kind of magic mushrooms. Well, not that kind of magic mushrooms. They just grow and they produce light, and there's all this stuff that just grows by magic. And Erica sort of claimed to have developed some of it, but really it was the Venati who developed the glowing mushrooms and all this other stuff. So here we are in Exile 3, and we're currently in a cave system that's much closer to the surface than Exile or Avernum, whichever you want to call it. So the mages of Exile, the exiled mages, whatever, I'm just going to, I'll choose something eventually. They teleported a bunch of people to this cave system that's close to the surface, and now we're going to try and explore the nearby surface. It's a province that was only recently settled. That's where we're coming out. Bad bugs in here. Well, we might actually not be strong enough to deal with that, sadly. Let's just stand ready and bless up here. Yeah, so we're getting ready to explore the surface, but first we're just gonna hunt some goblins. Kill the goblin fighter, maybe? Okay, excellent. So that's the story so far. There are some other elements, like the Slith Zerakai. Usually they're enemies, and the backstory of that is that they also have a civilization that's separate from Avernum and even further underground. And most of the Sliths that you run into are rebels of a sort. They're demon worshippers that got kicked out of the main civilization, so they ran off and eventually ended up in Avernum. And then some of them decided that, oh, maybe we don't actually want to worship demons, and they went back to, not doing that. And they're the friendly ones. Oh, here's the garbage pit. So they're the friendly ones. Oh, it's an enemy. It's a serpent. And the enemies are the demon-worshipping Sliths. Serpent dies. Our reward is garbage. Okay. Can't you, drop a legendary sword or something? It is a... well, it's sort of a traditional thing for monsters to drop gold in equipment, even if it doesn't really make sense. I mean, you could say that maybe they just ate a whole adventurer, and they had some coins on them or something, but it doesn't. It's not really plausible, is it? So there was a game called Kingdom of Loathing. I think they're still around, where they said, "Oh yeah, you know what would make sense then? What if the currency is meat? Because monsters, they just drop meat, and then that's the currency, and then you don't have to, pretend they drop gold or something." Well, it's pretty much a satire of RPGs, but I don't know. It doesn't really have much of a story to it, from what I've heard. If you're gonna play, and the combat is much more basic. It doesn't have a lot of strategy or anything to it. So, personally, I'd rather play something with a little bit of strategy and a bit of story, so on and so forth. Now, this is a very big game. It's a very big game, but it was made by one guy. So you kind of have to ask, why are games so much smaller? Well, if you look at something like Dragon Age, the terrain is all 3D. This uses just tiles. It's a lot faster to place a tile than it is to do 3D modeling, or use a 3D map editor even and place objects that you've pre-made. Obviously, it looks a lot better too, but, it's a trade-off. And in Dragon Age, also, all of the lines have voice actors. This just has text. That also adds a lot to the cost. Now, I think there's actually a trend these days back towards tiles instead of full 3D combat. So you have basically 3D models and animations, but all your actual combat is tile-based or turn-based. And the reason for that is, in something like Dragon Age, you have all these area of effect abilities and spells, and people end up spending a lot of time trying to get them pixel perfect to affect the maximum number of allies or enemies. Whereas with tiles, it's a little bit more clear cut, right? So there's things like the new XCOM games. I don't know if this is actually a trend. If anything, the trend is towards something like Skyrim or The Witcher 3, where you control a single character and it's real time. Maybe real time with pause, but basically real time with a single character. Less tactics, more action. More fancy animations, fancy attacks. There's a whole lot of these third-person, some people call them spectacle fighters, where you press attack, and your character does this fancy, acrobatic combo from just pressing this button over and over, and then you're like, yeah, that's cool, I did that. This is a lot more, well, it's not nearly as pretty. This is very, very old school. I'm running this on Windows XP inside an emulator. I'm using VirtualBox. That's because it doesn't run on anything newer than that. That's the most recent operating system that it'll actually run on. Let's just save up here. Cast some more light. Get some free food. Yeah. Oh, I keep doing that. And I'll probably keep on doing that. Just because I want to go a little bit faster. Um, yeah. Where was I? It's an old school game. But these days you're seeing sort of a resurgence of indie games with pixel art. Um, it's mostly platformers, I think, is the number one thing. This is, well, it's a lot more work to produce this than it is to produce a simple platformer. Oh, who's this? An assassin. Okay. Um, keep on blessing. Um, but on the other hand, it was made by one guy in like a year and a half. It uses pretty much the same engine as Exile 1 and 2, which were produced a couple years earlier. And the guy was probably working like all day long for a year. But still, modern games, they have a lot of people. They have, you know, they have large teams and they work for 3 years or so. They have more people working for longer. And, well, they have a lot less in terms of writing and gameplay than some of these older games do. Yeah, I mean, the state of writing in video games, the storytelling, I feel like it's really disappointing. There has been some progress, like, well, Witcher 3 is... Here I am running into monsters again. Witcher 3 is not a bad example. It has, sort of a decent story. It does limit the kind of storytelling you can do when you give players freedom. So there is a trade-off between freedom and storytelling. So a book or a movie is about a story, but a game is about a system. You're showing how a system works. Your implementation is sort of describing your view of how something works, like SimCity or Civilization or, well, there's Kerbal Space Program. I mean, Kerbal Space Program is obviously more just based on physics than some kind of interpretation of history, but still. Oh yes, here's a secret passage. If you walk into a wall, sometimes you'll find it's a secret passage. A small chest that contains a beautiful crystal figurine. Take that. Shows up in our special items, which is maps and also also quest items. So this is one of those maps I was talking about. Yeah. This is okay. Yeah, let's just not worry about that too much. Oh, what we can do is, since we're in a safe area here, we can do a long wait, and we'll recover a little bit of mana. Oh, that's fine. Okay. Where were we going? I think we were going down those stairs. Yep. These things I'm walking by are swamps, and if you step on them, you might get poisoned. There's a chance of each party member getting poisoned. The path goes upwards. Bandit hideout. Why are the bandits right next to the goblins? Who knows? There have to be enemies past here. I just, you can sort of tell. And just keep on attacking. Yeah. So the trend is definitely towards 3D, but now we're seeing these pixel art indie games, largely platformers, a lot of so-called roguelikes, although they're not necessarily that similar to the game Rogue, which is where the name comes from. Not nearly as much as something like Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, which I do recommend if you want to play a traditional roguelike. It's very well balanced, relatively speaking. Levers must be pulled. All levers must be pulled, and the gates have opened. So now we can get out, but we don't have to get out. Can we bash this? We can. Okay. Oh, a stick? Wow. Pants? Who wants pants? You want pants, Ethan? No? Okay. Food? Ah. Yes. So where was I? Yeah, I was talking about stories versus systems. So, something like Civilization 5, it's a system that's set up so that you can create your own stories. This is probably a terrible idea, because we have no ability. Oh, we disarm the trap anyway. We have no skill in that, just so you know. We don't care about shields. We don't care about poison. You can sell this stuff, but whatever, really. Whatever. Yeah. So I think Civ 5 is really well done in that sense, because it lets you create your own stories. Then there's more abstract games, like Go is about a system, but it's the polar opposite. It's completely abstract, completely, absolutely abstract, and it's very hard to understand even who's winning if you're just starting out in Go. And then chess is somewhere in between. It's definitely closer to the abstract side, but there's a little bit of a there's a little bit of a story in a sense. You could say that the pieces have character, and they represent sort of military units that are fighting, and the game as a whole represents a war. This is a stronger enemy, I think. So, you know what I could do? Oh, actually, let's just continue on. Yeah, what I could do here is cast a sleep cloud on this apprentice mage. Well, it worked out in the end. Can you kill that? There. Actually, what I'd like to do is sort of give my mages a chance to actually hit something. Here. You could just hit it. If an enemy is asleep, you deal a lot of extra damage. Okay, now it's gone. The enemy is dead. So I keep getting sidetracked here. Go is completely abstract. Chess has a very small amount of story, or at least character. And I think the ideal is something like that combines the strengths of Civ 5 with the strengths of Go, or the strengths of storytelling in general with the strengths of an abstract system. And the best kind is when you have a system that corresponds to real life somehow. So, according to these notes, the bandits were training wolves that they found. How did the bandits get to Fort Emergence in the first place? Right, supposedly everybody had to go through the big portal that's in a big fortress called the Portal Fortress. Yeah. How did they get here? I don't know. Loot storage. Can we bash that? No. Are there secret passages? I don't see any. So, something like oh, it's an enemy. Let's see if our mage can take it out. It can. We really want to level up our mages and get more than 6 HP. Our fighters are already level 3 and 4. I think something like Kerbal Space Program is excellent. It lets you create your own story, and it describes a system that corresponds to real life. That is to say, orbital mechanics. Now, it's maybe not relevant to your life. You're probably not going to have to calculate an orbital transfer anytime soon, but space as a whole, it's certainly. I mean, the sun is kind of important to your life, I assume. It's important to mine anyway. And space is interesting anyway, even if it's not directly relevant to most people's lives in the sense of, creating spacecraft and so on. It's certainly culturally important. What with the Apollo program and Star Wars and Star Trek and so on, and of course Star Wars and Star Trek use space because it was already meaningful to people. Well, it's been a long time now that. Oh, did we die? Did we die? Okay. That's a reload then. Well, that's fine. See, this is why I should save more often. Oh, Zetha's poisoned. Oh no. Well, there wasn't even anything in here anyway, was there? Maybe a secret passage? I don't think so. Yeah, okay. Well, sorry about that. Oh, there's enemies. Stand ready. Stand ready. Bless up. Buff up. Oh, he's a spellcaster. Spellcasters are always the first target. Always. Yeah. So, yes, Kerbal Space Program is a good example. Another good example is The Sims. The Sims, it's a system. The system it describes is everyday life. And obviously that's pretty meaningful to people. It's pretty relevant. And so it's a system you can create your own stories. And The Sims is really popular. Honestly, I think it could use some more competition. What else? Well, SimCity, City Skylines. There's a good chance you live in a city. And if you live in a city, then city design is relevant to you. Maybe not in terms of maybe it's not something you're actually going to be doing in real life, but it's certainly relevant to your life. Now, by the way, I'm playing with the sound off and the animations on high speed. That's just to make everything go faster. This game does have sound. It gets fairly repetitive, and the game will wait for sound to finish playing before it does the next thing, which slows things down a lot. So if you want some background noise, some background whatever, you can just play some music separately. That's what I figured. So usually it'll actually warn you if somebody hits 0 hit points. It'll play a sound, but I have that disabled because I want to play fast. Yep. Let's try and save a little bit more often, though. Yeah. More boots. Excellent. We needed those. There's another structure down here. These are spider webs. If you walk through them, you get encumbered for a little while. Oh, it's a secret passage. And we're dead again. Let's just reload. Okay. Yeah, that's what happens when you have 6 hit points. This won't happen as much later on. At least it shouldn't. See, minor heal on yourself. Yeah. So something like The Sims is an excellent example. Of the kind of game that I think you should be aspiring to make, at least in terms of a combination of storytelling plus gameplay. Although, well, I mean, the gameplay of The Sims is a little bit shallow, in my opinion. Let me kill this spellcaster. Excellent. Another example of something like that is companies. You could make a game about running a company. There's a lot of approaches you could take about that, and honestly, in some sense, in some ways, people have been doing that already. Let's save again and then immediately run into enemies. Minor heal the guy with no health. Kill the spellcaster. And our mage is getting beaten up with no protection and 6 hit points. But this is fine. We can just leave at this point, honestly. Minor heal. Have we gotten to the point where we want regular heal? I don't think so. Oop. Oh, it's a big battle. Bless and haste and haste and attack with the fighters. Attacking takes 4 action points, so if you have 5, you can get an extra attack in. Yep, and you can attack as long as you have at least 1 action point remaining. You can, as long as you have 1 action point remaining, you can do 1 more action of any type. Okay, is everything gone? Everything defeated? Okay, let's heal the person with no hit points remaining again. And save, which I should really do more often. A bow, well, I mean, maybe it's worth something, but I kind of doubt it. Actually, I really doubt it. Let's not worry about... Oops. Okay. Yeah, enemies keep spawning as long as we're in here. So they will kind of surprise us sometimes. Did we already check that? Yes, we did. Okay. And here is the exit. The bandits are being pretty blatant. You know, why haven't guards just taken them out? Is it like a training ground for new adventurer parties that they're just maintaining intentionally? Oh, there's a little area over here, but it's all blocked. So if we check for a secret passage, anything in here? A pile of stones with a sack. Silver coins. Excellent. Excellent. Now we can just head on back. And here we are, back in the base. Oh, let's see if our boss has anything to say. He did say to come see him. Nope. That was not important enough. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Okay. Well, we should train up. Go to the training hall. And I think I'll do that at the start of the next episode. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.